Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to another video from Guitar and Bass Repair Center. I'm Mario Cárdenas and I thank you for joining us once again. Today we have a very interesting video. We're going to tackle a repair of something that probably has happened to all of us, which is having a stripped strap pin hole in our guitar or bass. This means that the strap pin screw keeps coming out and we can no longer secure it properly, firmly, or with certainty it won't fall off while playing. There are several repairs that can be done, of course. One option is using sawdust and glue or inserting a piece of a toothpick, which also works. Today, we're going to learn how to use the StewMac Screw Rescue Kit, with which we can enlarge the original hole to create a dowel precisely fitted to the new hole and drill a new hole of the correct size for the screw we're using. In this case, we have a Yamaha guitar where the screw got stripped due to an impact, so we're going to remove it. Obviously, it's a bit loose and has a black drywall screw in it, which you're probably familiar with. And well, it doesn't allow us to securely attach the strap. So today we're going to see how to fix that. What does this repair involve? Well, as I mentioned, it consists of several steps. Obviously, we're going to remove the screw. The first step is to enlarge the hole once we've removed the screw, assuming it's still in the original hole. We're going to enlarge this hole using a 3/16 drill bit, which is the one that comes in the StewMac kit. I'm not sponsored by them. I've simply acquired many of their tools and I like to showcase them in videos because I find them very useful. So one of the drill bits in this kit is a plug cutter that we'll use to create the dowel. As you'll see, it's recommended to do this on a drill press for greater precision and make sure we create a dowel that fits securely and makes sure the drill won't move while we're using the bit, resulting in a loose dowel. Ideally, it should fit as tightly as possible. We'll use a drill press vise to secure our piece of wood properly. You'll see all of this in the video. It's important to align the piece of wood with the grain. If possible, use the same type of wood. If not, use a similar. It's not extremely crucial, but it is important. If you can do it that way. Once we have our dowel ready, the next step will be to clean it to remove any contaminants. Sometimes we may need to reduce its size slightly to ensure a good fit, not too tight that it won't go in, as it could break when installing it. We're going to use a soft hammer, a fret hammer here, to drive the dowel. We're going to need glue. Of course, it's always very useful to have our calipers, whether they are digital or dial calipers. The key is to work with precision, as you already know if you've been following the channel. I usually use Tight Bond or fish glue either from StewMac or the extant Luthier Mercantile. In this case, I believe I use Tight Bond. It's always important to ensure that any glue you use hasn't expired, as it loses its effectiveness. Especially when it comes to something as important as securing the strap, it's crucial to have the assurance this piece won't come loose during a performance, a concert, or even while practicing at home. Accidents can happen, and it's something we want to avoid. Alright? Great. Once we have our dowel installed, we're going to cut it flush. For this, we'll use a handsaw and some chisels. I personally like to use a 1/4 inch or even an 1/8 inch chisel if possible. But in this case, we used one ranging from a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. We probably won't need a thicker chisel for this. Now that we have our dowel flush, we'll drill directly to the center of the new dowel. It's essential to do this with great precision. In the video, you'll see how it's done to avoid the drill bit from deviating and creating an off-center hole, considering that we'll be drilling into the end grain. The end grain is the part of the wood where all the grain pores are visible. You know, the conducts the sap travels through. It can be a bit tricky to cut or drill. So we must be very careful. You'll see the process in the video. Lastly, we'll install our pin with its screw so that we can use the strap securely. That's what the video will be about, and I hope you like it. It's a simple repair, and this is how to do it, to be sure it will last. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comments. Although it may take me some time, I respond to everything with pleasure. And please don't forget to like, share the video, and check out other videos on the channel because if you enjoy them, YouTube will recommend more to you. It's an excellent way to support us and continue creating content. If you want to go above and beyond, there's the super thanks button, which would be fantastic. If it's not possible for you, of course, a thumbs up, subscribing, and activating notifications help us a lot so you don't miss any videos. And now, let's proceed with the repair. Alright, first and foremost, so you don't get alarmed, not the entire videos in photos, just this part, and it will be about a minute. Here we can see what I mentioned at the beginning. We have a stripped screw in a hole with only a drywall screw. We're going to remove the screw, and you can see how easy it is because it wasn't actually secured with anything. It was simply pressed in all the way. But note that not all cases will be as easy to remove. Here we can see the original hole and the damaged finish around it, which I imagine was caused by the fall or the impact. We're going to place our guitar in our repair vise. This will give us stability and leave our hands free to work. We're going to insert something. In this case, I took a thin Allen wrench to measure the depth of the hole, and we're going to mark this depth on the drill bit. We're going to use, in this case, a 3/16, using a piece of thin tape. This is to avoid drilling more than necessary. We are going to mount the drill bit, and if the drill has the option, we're going to select the reverse rotation, that is, counterclockwise. This is to start our drilling without risking damaging the varnish and also helps us center our drilling better. Once we've done this and drilled a few millimeters, we can switch to normal rotation. I want to point out this should be done gradually because many people will press the drill trigger all the way and they might lose control of the tool. So be very careful with that. Later in the video, we'll see a bit more about how to use the drill. With this done, we have the hole ready for the dowel. Now let's move on to preparing the drill press to create the dowel. The clamp helps us hold the auxiliary work table firm when drilling other things. We're going to remove the auxiliary work table and raise the drill press work table with the handle. And then attach the drill press vise with some screws, aligning it with the drill bit we're going to use. We're going to use a plug cutter, by the way, approximately around here, so we'll adjust the jaws accordingly. I'm going to place the screws in the openings on the drill press table. We'll insert them from the bottom. I'll make sure we're roughly aligned. If not, I'll adjust it a bit. I'm going to install the lug cutter. We'll tighten it a bit in each hole of the chuck. We tighten well to keep vibration from loosening the piece, and we're going to drill our plug. To remove the piece, we obviously start turning the handle. What we're going to do is measure, and we'll make sure that the drill press goes down to where we need it. I secure the table so it won't move, securing it with the crank at the back of the drill press column, and we'll turn on the drill press. The power button is here. We're going to apply a bit of wax to the outside part of our plug cutter. It's good to have the piece secured in the drill press vise because this way we don't have to hold it. One hand free. I'm going to raise the table a bit more. And turn on the drill. I increased the speed a little bit. It's important to note that we need to raise and lower the drill bit to prevent it from getting stuck and overheating. What follows next is removing the plug cutter and removing the plug. Sometimes they can get stuck and you have to remove them with a blade or something similar. The next step is to vacuum the table and bring the drill bit to the workbench to remove the wooden plug we just made. We place the chuck key on the magnet and turn off the power strip. I take a blade and I'm going to dig it in a bit to remove the plug. Next, I'll round the edges of the plug before installing in. This I will do on the belt sander. Now I take some acetone and clean the plug. Let's let it dry for a bit before installing it. Let's also give it a wipe with a small amount of white spirits to remove any residual wax it may have. And now we'll let it dry for a couple of minutes before installing it. In the meantime, I'll prepare the glue. I'm going to use Tight Bond, and I'm going to carefully place the guitar. Remember, we're going to repair this stripped hole. We're going to fill the hole and create a new one. Before we can install the plug, we need to check the fit. Sometimes it can be too tight, and we may need to sand it by rotating it on a surface with sandpaper to make it thinner. In this case, we have a good fit. It goes in a little loose but ends up tight. That's more or less what we're aiming for. We can insert it all the way with a hammer, and then we'll cut and drill the new hole. I'm going to apply a bit of glue. And a little bit on the plug as well. I'll take my fret hammer and drive the plug all the way in. I poured a bit of water into a cup to moisten a piece of paper. I squeeze it and use it to clean off any excess glue. It's important to clean off this glue now since it's tougher later. I'll dry this with another piece of paper. I'll cut it right now since I'll be working on this guitar. And I don't want it to get caught on anything and pull it out accidentally while the glue is curing. I'm being careful not to touch the instrument's finish with my saw since I could make some scratches. And the last thing I'm going to do is make that little piece flush. I'll use a chisel. It's good to have a sharp chisel for this. I'm cutting thin slices until I make it flush. Be careful when making it flush. Making sure not to scratch the instrument's finish. We can feel if it's becoming flush or not. I'm cutting at different angles to level it with the finish. Great, and that's how you fill a strip strap pin hole. Alright, the dowel we made has cured. The first thing we're going to do is take the strap we're going to install. Remember, it had an improvised screw. To choose the proper drill bit, I have the screw here. We're going to measure the thickness of the threads. These measure 0.119, and we're also going to measure the interior, the shank. It measures about 0.096. Actually, there is some space between the shank and the jaws of the calipers, about 6 thousandths of an inch. What I did was choose a drill bit of 89 thousandths of an inch. How did I choose it? The measurement of the shank obviously helps, but what I'm going to do is take the screw and a drill bit that gives me a similar measurement to the shank. And I'm going to insert the drill bit. I'm going to mark the depth. I'll take the masking tape and cut approximately about an inch. I'll take both the drill bit and the screw, and I'm going to push the screw so that it comes out completely from the strap pin. And that's where I'm going to mark the drill bit to drill at that depth. Once I have the drill bit in the drill chuck and tightened each hole, I make sure it's centered. Our next step is to mark the point where we're going to drill the hole. What I'm going to do is find the center of the plug or dowel and mark it. Then I'll take a rubber mallet and give it a light tap. Now I'm going to take the drill and make sure it's aligned with the axis of the guitar, aligned on this axis and aligned on this axis, and we're going to start drilling. We make sure we stay aligned. Now I'm going to take a countersink bead and install it in the drill. I'm removing the drill bit I had. It's only to prevent splintering. I'm going to start with reverse rotation, as if I drilling the bit out, and then I'm going to switch to normal rotation. I'm going to slightly mark the cut in the direction I want. What this will do is chamfer the hole. And now we can install the strap pin. Apply a bit of wax to the screw. I take my screwdriver with the appropriate tip. And that's how we repair a strip strap pinhole. The next step would be, of course, to tidy up the workspace. See you in the next video.